Coming to you from Farmer Dave's Kitchen here in Dracut, Massachusetts, I'm Stacey.
I'm Denise.
And we're here to help you prepare
your share.
We thought we would share one of our favorite recipes and another use for sweet potatoes. Sweet potato biscuits with maple cherry bomb butter. The sweet potatoes can be roasted and mashed ahead of time, and the maple cherry bomb butter can be made ahead as well when the cherry bomb peppers are in season, or if you've frozen some, wrap the butter up and then just freeze it in logs. So easy. The biscuits are also easy to whip up, even the last minute.
Very easy. So to start with, you want to preheat the oven to 375 degrees. Approximately 1 cup of cooked mashed sweet potato is needed. Pierce the skin of 1 to 2 sweet potatoes. Wrap in foil. Cook until tender. Usually takes about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the size of the potatoes, of course.
This is what they'll look like. You want them to be cold and ready to go when you go to make the biscuits, because you don't want anything warmth from this to melt the butter. The whole purpose of a biscuit is to have that butter cold.
Yes.
So I always make additional sweet potatoes if I'm already turning on the oven. So I'm not going to roast 1 or 2 for this recipe.
Right.
I'm just going to do a rack of them. They freeze really well once they're mashed, and you can add them to everything anyway. So if you've got it, you might as well just go and make some more.
Yeah, makes sense.
And you'll be asked for these biscuits the next day as well. They're just so yummy, and this is probably the most time-consuming part of this entire process. So just get it done and do some extra.
I would agree with that. So our ingredient lineup is 2 cups of an all-purpose flour, and then 4 teaspoons of baking powder, which we've already put in the bowl, and then about a half a teaspoon of salt.
Next up is the wet mixture.
Right.
Okay. So we have 1 cup of sweet potatoes. So it's 1 cup of sweet potatoes. Now I usually say 1 to 1.5, because once you put the mixture in the flour, sometimes it's kind of like that whole a little bit more, a little bit less kind of a thing.
Sure.
So I'm going to have this in here. I am going to mix a half a cup of buttermilk. While I do this, this is the butter that's nice and chilled. We actually put it in the freezer so it would be really, really cold. And then Denise is going to work that into the mixture. We want pea-size crumbs, basically. So while she does that, I'm going to mix this. Now, the butter is also something you can get ready ahead of time. So even the day before, if you know you're going to make these biscuits for a party or something like that, you know, you can get this all done. You can make the butter ahead of time. You can even cut all the butter for the dough up ahead of time and have it in little packets in the freezer, and then you just take it out whenever you want to make these.
Exactly.
All right, these are really mixed well. Oh, a little piece of skin got in there.
These
Take
things,
that off.
these things happen.
There we go. So that's good. Nice.
Yeah, this is
Starting to get little crumbs in there.
Yep. This is
It's a
looking
great
good.
workout. You want to scrape the butter
Yeah.
off. And every now and then you have
Thank you.
to get rid of the clumps of butter in between. There we go.
Good stuff.
A little bit more. Oh, that looks really, really good, I think.
Yeah, this is good. Looks good. Okay.
Excellent. So next one is we are going to fold the wet mixture into the dry mixture. Now, what folding means is you're not going to beat it, because you don't want to warm up the mixture, and that's kind of what happens if you over stir it. So I'm going to get all that in. We might, depending on the moisture, have to add a little bit more. We'll see once I start mixing. So when you're folding, you're going to go underneath and back up, underneath and back up. And just spin the bowl while you do this.
Nice.
And keep going, and I think I am going to need more.
Yeah,
Probably
usually
another.
The 1 to 1.5.
I'm going to do like another half a cup
When I
here.
do them, seems to be the
enough.
magic number.
There we go. This just really takes a minute. As you can see, it looks like it's too crumbly, but give it some time because the sweet potato gives off a lot of moisture.
It does.
And as you're mixing it, all of a sudden, it
comes
starts
together.
coming together on
You're
you.
like, oh, wait, this is fine.
Otherwise, you're going to have that continuous thing of a little more buttermilk, a little more sweet potato.
So just take your time and be patient with it.
There we go. Now that's nice and crumbly. Do you think we need a splash of buttermilk?
Just a splash. And again, you only want probably about a tablespoon at a time here. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Let's see if that's just enough moisture.
Yeah. Now this dough can be chilled for about 30 minutes or so, or we can bake this off right away. We're going to bake it off right away now.
Once we get it all, yeah, see how that's coming together now?
Beautifully.
Just have that little patch of flour on the bottom here.
Yep, just work that guy right in.
I don't want to overmix it, but here we go. Okay,
It's good.
so we'll straighten that out. Do you want to put a little flour down on that?
I do.
Here we go.
Oh,
And now, I'm just going to get this out.
perfect.
There we go. A little clumpy there.
Nice.
There we go.
All right.
So by doing this, it's just basically getting it all together into one clump. And because we took this butter out of the freezer before we did this, the butter is still pretty cold. If you've had a delay, I would put this wrapped up in the refrigerator. Like we said, I think it was about 30 minutes or so,
Yeah,
and let
that's
it get
about right.
hard because you want that butter cold.
Exactly.
The butter is what's going to help these rise. There is quite a bit of baking powder in this as well, and it's just because the sweet potatoes are so heavy.
Right.
Now, Denise is pressing this out to about 1 to 2 inch
Yeah.
depth.
And you can play with this too. I mean, trust me, you'll be making these more than once. So,
And don't bother using a rolling pin. The rolling pin is just going to create too much heat. It's going to be sticky. You're going to wind up
Yeah.
putting more flour. Just use your hands.
no, it's just as easy to do it this way.
All right, when you're ready to cut, I will get cutting. Okay.
We're cutting, we're cutting. You can see. So that's actually a good thickness on that.
Now, if you can see the side of that, you can see the little chunks of butter and the sweet potato. You want to see those chunks of butter because once this hits the heat, the butter is going to help with the rising factor with that because it's going to melt, and then the water that's still in the butter causes evaporation. It bubbles,
Right.
all that good stuff.
Wow, the science behind biscuits.
Science behind biscuits. You don't want a smooth mixture. You want those little chunks of butter. So Denise is going to cut these out, and we have a parchment-lined baking tray. If you have a cast iron tray that's all seasoned that you use and you love it for making biscuits, go right ahead. I just really love using the parchment.
So do I.
It just doesn't, nothing sticks.
It makes life easy. Can always use things that make life easier.
There we go, nice. And then we have a lot of scraps here, and she's just going to press them together. Super easy. Don't waste any of these.
Oh gosh, no, not a drop.
There you go. You're going to work it a little bit more, but it's not going to be worked enough where it's going to get tough.
Nope, and we're moving fairly quickly with this.
This will make sometimes, depending on the size of your biscuit cutter, anywhere from 12 to probably 18.
Yeah, I
Just
think we
depends
got
on the
about
size.
maybe 14 or 15 out of one of our last batches. It does. It depends on the size of the cutter and the thickness, of course. Biscuit
There we
math.
go. Yes, biscuit math. And the other part of biscuit math you need is, you know, you can't do a head count on these because everybody will wind up having 3 or 4 of these by the time
Yeah.
all said and done.
All right.
Which is why
Could
we
have done a
said-
better job with that, but you guys definitely get the point.
Get the point, and we're going to put these in the oven. We preheated at 375 degrees.
Right.
I'm going to get these right in.
Yep, go for it.
Whoops, can you grab that
Yeah,
for me?
got
Thank
it.
you. And in those go. And through the magic of television,
Yes.
we did make a batch before. This is what they come
So
out looking like.
good.
They're very, very golden. and absolutely delicious. Now, this is what the maple cherry bomb butter looks like.
Yes.
Now, how we made that was really finely diced a whole bunch of cherry bomb peppers,
Yep.
the red ones, because I think the red ones just look so pretty.
They're pretty.
We put in some maple syrup and softened butter, and that's it. And the maple syrup is just meant to be a splash,
Right.
just to get that maple flavor.
Touch of sweet with the
and then
hot.
you just keep mixing it until it all finally comes together again.
Really
All right,
good.
we're gonna taste these now.
Go for it.
Can I make you one?
You can, because my hands are covered in biscuit. Yes,
Okay.
please.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
There you go.
Really good.
How
Thank
pretty
you.
is that? There we go.
Well, we can get a little bit of the maple syrup coming through
You can
the
just
butter,
say
which
coming
is really
through.
good.
Cheers.
Cheers. This is ridiculous.
They're very tender. They have a nice crumb to them.
Moist.
One of my favorite ways of using these is as a slider bun. So I'll make pulled pork
yeah.
in the crock pot with my pressure cooker. Shred that up with onions and apples and things like that, and you just put a small amount of this on here, and you have a little slider of pulled pork
No, that's delicious.
with the sweet potato. It's
So
really, really
if
good.
you do make quite a few of these, you can easily freeze some and then reheat them in the oven at 375 for a few minutes. That way, if you do make a larger batch of these, you can have some with dinner tonight and then save some from another meal.
Oh, and this is really good with an egg, too.
Exactly. So
Done it with an egg. We can come up with uses for these all day, so enjoy them. We hope you try and make them.
enjoy.